What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys, and it is that time of the year again where it's time to announce our team of the season throughout the whole Premier League. Me and Sim have both picked two teams for our teams of the season. We've both gone 4-4-2, which I'm sure you can guess why, and let's get straight into it. I think we'll go position by position and see where we go. So, Sim, let's start off with the goalkeeper.
All right, my goalkeeper of the season, I've gone for Brentford's David Raya.
And I have gone for Brentford's David Raya.
Of course, yeah. I thought you were going to go for Nick Pope.
No, I was actually telling Sammy before we were coming up, David Raya's got to be in there for team of the season. He's got the highest save percentage in the Premier League this season. Every time I've watched him play, I think he's been brilliant. And I think he's got everything. He can play with his feet, good shot stopper, and I think he's been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League this season.
I think, yeah, he's been near faultless. And I don't think... I think Raya could have been in City's goal, wouldn't have made too much of a difference. I still think they would have won the league. I think Ramsdale's made a few mistakes recently, so I wouldn't have had him in. And as much as Pope has had a brilliant season, I do think he has come unstuck a bit when he's had to play out from the back. He has made a few mistakes and cost Newcastle a few goals, albeit by and large he's been brilliant. The only one who's really unlucky maybe to miss out is Alisson, who's actually had a pretty strong season. Yeah. But I've just gone for David Raya because he's playing at a worse team. He's got a more difficult job.
Yeah, and the 76.8% save percentage as well is sensational for David Raya. And even when you look on Fantasy Premier League, David Raya gets points for saves every single week, clocking up. Even if he doesn't make a clean sheet, right, he's always getting one of the most points in the FPL on a weekly basis. So I think he's been absolutely sensational. So both of us gone for David Raya. Let us know who you think the goalkeeper of the year is. Let's move on to right back, and I think this one's a pretty easy pick. I've gone for Kieran Trippier. He's been pretty much man the match every single week for Newcastle, especially first half of the season. Newcastle had a near perfect defence, to be honest, with the way that they were playing. Second half of the season, their defence haven't stood as strong, but I think he's still been a shining light there.
Yeah, and I think I've gone for Trippier as well, I think it goes without saying. And I think that he's been absolutely sensational. But what's brilliant about Trippier is he's been known as like this really good right back who's good at getting forward and good at crossing the ball and creating chances. And he hasn't lost any of that. But what he's really gained, maybe at his time with Atletico, is that ability to be a really good one-on-one defender. Make sure that he's not a liability when fast wingers are attacking him. And he's really tightened up that defensive ability and become a really top right back. And maybe he's become... something that Tottenham didn't see him becoming because at Tottenham, as much as I liked him as a player, who you always felt like you weren't comfortable and like a winger was running at him, and you always felt like you could get at him. But now he's seems like a complete defender, and even though he's 32, he seems to be getting better and better. And I think he's had an outstanding season for Newcastle.
Completely agree. I mean, you can really see how much he's come on from the coaching of Diego Simeone as well. That defensive solidity that he's added to his game. So he's definitely one that we let go way too soon of, and we're all regretting it right now, that's for sure. But let's move on to the centre backs. Let's start off on the left side. Who have you gone for?
On the left, I've gone for John Stones.
John Stones,
I thought he's been sensational for
I've actually picked two left-sided players, but whatever.
I think that his ability to step into midfield as he's done this season, and he's become not only is he like a really good centre back for City, but I can't believe how good he is on the ball, in midfield, in tight spaces, keeping possession and making sure that he's finding other Man City attackers or midfielders in space. And it's actually incredible how much composure he has on the ball, his awareness of space as well. He barely ever loses the ball. And I think, especially in the second half of the season, he's really gone up another level. I think there's a good argument he might be one of the best centre-backs in Europe, but on his current performance level in the second half of the season. And I think, obviously, Man City have really stepped up. I think he's been amazing. So I've gone for John Stones.
Yeah, to be honest, I've also gone for John Stones as one of my centre-backs. I mean, in terms of the way I've picked it here, I haven't picked a team which I think is going to work as a cohesive unit together. I just think I've gone for who I think has been best in each of those positions. So my two centre-backs are both left-sided centre-backs, to be honest. But John Stones, it's an interesting one with John Stones because he hardly got a look in first half of the season. But the second half of the season, he has been the best centre-back by a mile, in my opinion, of the Premier League. The way he steps into the midfield, his ball-playing ability is absolutely sensational. And as just a pure defender as well, I thought he's done really well. So I'm so impressed with John Stones, and I think he's such a top player. And the coaching that Pep Guardiola has done on him has been nothing short of magnificent, to be honest. So the next centre back, I have gone for Sven Botman of Newcastle. And first half of the season, I thought Sven Botman was absolutely a delight to watch from a defensive point of view. Newcastle obviously had the best defence in the first half of the season, hardly conceding a goal, and I think he was very central to that. I think he's an absolute man-mountain. Second half of the season, I still think he's been standing up for the team, albeit Newcastle haven't been as good defensively maybe as they were first half of the season. So it was a toss-up between him and Saliba, to be honest. But because Saliba got injured and he missed a big chunk of the season, I just think Sven Botman's got a bigger sample size to go by.
I went for Saliba just because I think his performance level when he was fit was that good that I couldn't leave him out, and he did play majority of the season anyway, and you saw how much Arsenal missed him when he was injured as well. I think he's literally another Van Dijk in the making. He's so tall and strong, and he really helped Arsenal have control of games defensively and not give any. The amount of times Arsenal were caught on a counter attack and then Saliba was just there to mop it up. Yeah. Whereas when he was injured, all of a sudden those counter attacks they'd be made to pay for them all of a sudden, and I think he just makes a massive difference. And unfortunately, I think they've got a really good one for many years there, Saliba, unless he gets poached by Madrid or Barcelona. We can only hope, but Saliba, I think, was in my team of the year. It's
frustrating as well with Saliba because he's a player that we could have had if we would have loaned him back. Yeah. And we refused to do that, and then Arsenal swooped in and loaned him back, and the rest is history. So it's very frustrating on that sense. So yeah, let's move on to the left back, and I have gone for Nathan Ake here. Who have you gone for?
I've also gone for Nathan Ake.
I mean, Nathan Ake has literally revolutionised that defence for Man City, in my opinion. Pep was singing his praises at the end of that game against Chelsea during the trophy celebrations. He was talking about how good he is at one-on-one defending, and I thought he was throwing a bit of shade to Cancelo. And you're thinking, like, for Man City to get rid of Cancelo, there's got to be someone special to take his place. And I think Nathan Ake has been that special. And going forward and back the other way defensively, I think he's been near faultless this season.
Yeah, I think he's kind of played like this hybrid role. It allows Man City to go into a back three, or almost a back two when they're off the ball. And he kind of plays left back out of possession, and in possession he goes into centre back a lot. And I think it's really that's really a great position for him. And he's always been a really good defender, and always been a defender who's quite composed on the ball as well, but he's really taken his game on leaps and bounds this season with Man City. And I think what's allowed as well Man City to really push up, really take control of games, and knowing that if there are counter-attacks, because of his strength and his pace, he's a really good one-on-one defender. Yeah. So they don't have to be worried really about counter-attacks as much, and that's led to their absolutely amazing form in the second half of the season. I think Pep has done a brilliant job with him, because you think of someone like Nathan Ake, I know he signed for big money from Bournemouth, but you never really saw him as a centre-back. You always thought of him like, okay, he's going to be fourth choice of Man City, then he's not going to get much of a look in, he'll probably leave in a few years. But this season he was absolutely central to their defence and how solid it was in the second half of the season, and I can't look past him at left-back.
And he's another one off the Pep Guardiola coaching, whatever you want to call it. Like, he is literally the carbon copy of what Pep has done with so many players now at Manchester City. Signed him, don't see him for a couple of years, and suddenly he's one of the best players in the Premier League. It's unbelievable. Incredible. The coaching that Pep Guardiola does, to be honest. It really is. So that's our defence. Let's move over to left side of midfield. Who have you gone for?
On the left, I've gone for Marcus Rashford. 16 Premier League goals. He has been a bit of a streaky player, but I do think that Man United have been so heavily reliant on him. And I think he's their third place, but all four, I don't know where they are now, third or fourth, but in the top four. Yeah. They're in the top four because of him. Literally, because of how he has stepped up. And I think that his finishing, we always know what Rashford is capable of, but he's been off the boil for a while now, and even talk of him leaving this season. But I think he's really brought the best aspects to his game back. He's got that confidence back as well. His finishing ability is absolute dynamite. He's running at players now where he wasn't maybe last season. And I think that Man United owe him a debt this season for getting him in the top four, with how many times he's stepped up and got crucial goals for them this season. I didn't go for Martinelli just because I feel like if you take Martinelli out of Arsenal, you know, that I don't think it makes as much of a difference as if you take Rashford out of Man United. So I've gone for Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, I've also gone for Marcus Rashford. I actually originally did go for Martinelli, but I changed it up last minute. 16 goals, 5 assists for Marcus Rashford. And look, I don't want to do a carbon copy of what you said, but everything you said is pretty much spot on. I mean, Man United are so heavily reliant on him, and he's been sensational. And when he has been on good form, I mean, that form from the World Cup up until about a month and a half ago, he was probably one of the best players in the Premier League. So he's got to go in this team for me. Right side of midfield.
I've gone for Bukayo Saka.
Bukayo Saka. I've gone for Mo Salah.
Mo Salah, really, ahead of Saka?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think that Mo Salah's gone very much under the radar this season. At the moment, he's still sitting on 19 goals and 11 assists. I mean, and that is nothing to be sniffed at. And I don't think Saka can touch those numbers, to be honest. And I think a lot of people have been throwing shade at Liverpool this season, throwing shade at Mo Salah this season. But I think more times than not, he comes up trumps for Liverpool, especially his recent form in the past couple of months. He has been banging in the goals. He's been right back at it. And look, you can't really complain with 19 goals and 11 assists.
Yeah, I think Salah's had a great season again, under the radar. I do think a majority of them are coming this amazing 8-game run. Not majority of the goals, but a lot of the goals have come in this amazing 8-game run, which Liverpool have been on back end of the season. I do think Saka, for the majority of the season, it's not just his goals. I think he's on 13 goals and 11 assists this season for a 21-year-old, which is pretty incredible. But I think it's not just that. I think it's his dribbling ability as well, which really opens up space for the rest of the Arsenal attack as well, which has really helped them. I think he's a real team player. He really works hard for the team as well. I think he's been he's really added those goals to his game, which maybe he was lacking over the past couple seasons. And yes, maybe you could argue over the last few weeks he's been a bit off the boil when the goings got tough. But I think his performances from the start of the season up until like March time, I think he was head and shoulders probably one of the best players in the league, let alone wingers. So I've put Bukayo Saka in my team.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I was tossing and changing between the two, but I think Mo Salah's has just about done it for me. And it's also nice to leave an Arsenal player out the team, to be honest. Any excuse, exactly. Let's move over to the midfield. The first player I've picked is an Arsenal player, and it is Martin Odegaard. I think Odegaard has been nothing short of sensational. He's the one that's really made Arsenal tick this season. His numbers speak for itself as well. 15 goals, 7 assists. As a captain at such a young age as well, I've been so impressed with him. As much as it pains me to say it, I do think he's becoming one of the stars of the Premier League. And look, what a player he is.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing Odegaard was missing from his game was goals, and now he's got 15 Premier League goals this season, which is astonishing. A lot of them come from outside the box. He's really kind of trained his ability to that low shot from outside the box into the corner. He's done it a number of times now this season, especially against Tottenham he did it. And I think that he adds that to his creativity, which is pretty much second to none. His vision is incredible. I think the timing of his passes, the quality of his passes as well is brilliant. He's a real leader for that Arsenal team as well, as much as it pains me to say it. I think he's had a sensational season, Martin Odegaard. Hopefully, he's a one-season wonder, but something makes me think he's not going to be so.
You know what, as well with Martin Odegaard, I felt like when Arsenal had that crumble and when they bottled it, I felt like he was one of the only players standing up for the team in each of those games. Even like the more experienced players like Thomas Partey, I thought Odegaard was always there and always performing for the team, even when things weren't going well. So I think Odegaard has to go in. Next, who's alongside Odegaard for you?
I've gone for Rodri.
Ooh.
Rodri of Man City. I think he literally... as a defensive midfielder, obviously they're not going to get the applauded because they're not getting goals and assists, but I literally think like most games he puts in an 8 or 9 out of 10 for a defensive midfielder kind of role. And I think this season as well, he's stepped up his game even further because I think he's adding a bit more offensive ability. I think he takes more shots. He's finding, don't think he gets more assists, but he's making more final third passes as well. I think Rodri has been literally Mr. Consistent for Man City whenever he plays. He's the most trusted player for Pep Guardiola in that midfield, in that role, and I think he's been absolutely sensational. I can't remember a bad game. I remember once maybe against Tottenham he gave a goal away, but other than that he's been literally faultless for Man City. So I can't not put him in. I think he deserves his praise. So I put Rodri in.
Now look, I think you're right, but there's one player I just can't look past, and that's Kevin De Bruyne. Playmaker, he's going to be playmaker of the year with 16 assists this season, 7 goals this season. I mean, for me, you can't make a team of the year and not put Kevin De Bruyne in there, because I think he's been sensational this season, going forward especially. How can you not put a playmaker of the year in team of the year? Let's be honest. I know Rodri, he has been sensational, but I just think Kevin De Bruyne has been head and shoulders above probably anyone in this league this season.
Rodri is the best player, probably best player. Sorry, not Rodri. De Bruyne is probably the best player in the league. Don't know that about it. And it's hard. It was very hard for me to leave him out. But I think Rodri literally plays a 9 out of 10 every game from his role. So maybe I could have left out Odegaard. But I think Odegaard, I think this season, I think there was a toss-up between Odegaard and, for me, and De Bruyne, which one I put in. And I just sided with Odegaard just because he's got the double amount of goals, even though De Bruyne has more assists than him. You know, Odegaard creates a lot of chances as well. So I've gone for Odegaard.
Let's be honest, yeah. I wanted to put Rodri in my team. You wanted to put De Bruyne in my team, but they're missing out because of a certain someone that we have to put in up front.
Yeah, that's the
reality of it, isn't it? So that's the situation. Let's move over up front. I think it's pretty simple who we've put up front. We'll start off. I'll start off with Erling Haaland, who's gone 36 goals, 7 assists this season, smashed the record for most goals in a year. The people who had the record before that were playing in a Premier League where it was over 40 games in a season. This guy has done it, and he's done it with a plum. He really has. He's come in. Look, let's be honest, it's not that hard to do it in a Man City team. And I think if Harry Kane was in that team, he'd be actually scoring more goals than Erling Haaland. But the way he's done it and come in and just settled in straight away and scored all these goals, I think is absolutely sensational.
22 years of age as well. The guy's an absolute machine. He is absolutely relentless in his ability to run in behind, just continuing to ask questions of the back line, never give them a moment's rest. He's literally nothing he doesn't have. He's got strength, he's got height, he's got speed, he's got incredible finishing ability as well. And you add that into that creation monster that is Man City's team, and you've seen an absolute explosion in goals. 36 goals. Obviously, we saw in La Liga over that period when Ronaldo and Messi were there, they were hitting regularly, like between 40 and like 50 even league goals. Do you reckon we're going to be seeing that with Haaland over the next few years, him get to those heights? Because 36 league goals obviously is an incredible achievement.
This is his first season.
That's his first season. Like, do you reckon we're going to see a new level of goal scoring now? I think we could. In the league?
I really think we could, to be honest. I mean, the way he's done it, yeah, it's just unbelievable, the amount of goals he's scored, the sheer amount of goals, and the way he's scoring them as well. He seems like he's always in the right place at the right time. And not only that, later on in the year, I feel like he's added different elements to his game as well, where he gets more assists and he's providing more for the team, where he's not just the finisher. So Erling Haaland, the more he progresses in the Premier League, I think the more he's going to grow and the more he's going to score as well. So absolutely unbelievable player. And last but not least, who else but Harry Kane? We had to get him in there. Broke the record for most amount of games scored in the season this year. 28 goals and 3 assists in this Tottenham team is just insane. It really is. I think it's his second or third best goal-scoring season in his career. He's up there and getting the numbers again that he hasn't hit for the last couple of years. And look, Harry Kane has just been insane this season.
Yeah, and I don't think he gets enough praise for how good his season has been.
Because of Haaland.
Goal. Yeah, I think Haaland's made him look like not as good as it is, but 28 league goals for Harry Kane, especially as well at 29 years of age. People thinking, is he starting to slow down, when all of a sudden he's getting some of his best numbers he's ever hit. He could easily hit 30 goals as well with 1 game left, which would be an amazing achievement as well. But to score in 25 different games, which is a Premier League record, consider if you think about like all the amazing seasons players have had, like let's say Salah in his first season when he got 33 goals, Luis Suarez in that season when Liverpool nearly won the league, and they seemed to be scoring every single game in those seasons, and they had unbelievable seasons. Yeah, and even Haaland this season, 36 league goals, and yet he hasn't scored in as many games as Harry Kane has scored in, and which is absolutely ridiculous to think about.
It's because Haaland scored about 5, 6, 7 hat-tricks this season.
But he just seems to score every game, Haaland, and yet Kane doesn't have that same kind of feeling about him. Yet he scored in a Premier League record 25 games. And that shows how much he's making a difference in every game, how consistent he's been throughout the season as well. And considering how poor Spurs have been in large parts this season, and how like lack of control, and even games where we haven't like made lots of chances and been the second best. There's been like so many games like that, and yet he's still found a way to score. He's still found a way to dig in for the team. I think he's been absolutely sensational. He's got a good repertoire of goals as well. You saw his goal against Brentford, what a goal that was. But he's got a number of poachers' efforts as well. The guy is as good as he's ever been this season, to be honest, and looks like he's got many more years to go, and he's got that Premier League record in sight.
Yeah, so I mean, he's been very much a shining light what has been a very poor season for Tottenham Hotspur, and I think he had to go in the league in this team this season. He had to. We had to make room for him because he's been that good. So let's run through our team.
Manager of the season?
Oh, Pep Guardiola. He's going to win. If he wins the treble, I think it's got to be Pep Guardiola. The way he's done it, the way he's found different tweaks and different tactics in his team as well. I think it's been sensational. The way he can just let go of João Cancelo and bring through Nathan Ake like that is just like mind blowing. Because João Cancelo was the best left back or right back, whichever position he is, in the league, hands down last season. And he was like, "No, you're not good enough in one-on-one defending. You're out." And Nathan Ake comes in. And they hardly concede goals.
I'm going to give it to Eddie Howe. I think getting Newcastle from where they were last season to top 4 this season, I know that they haven't had European football to contend with, but considering where he took them over last season, though, in a relegation battle, and I know they spend money, but they spend it smartly. They haven't exactly just splurged all over the place. I think each signing, I can't remember too many flops they've had. I think each signing has been a decent success for Eddie Howe as well, and to get them into that top 4 pretty much in his first full season, and the first time asking with the players he has at his disposal. Like, if you look at that squad, he's got players. Obviously, he's done brilliant with people like Trippier and Botman and Isaac, but I'm talking about players like Almiron, Joel Linton, Jacob Murphy, Joe Willock. These are players that if they went on sale, would the top 6 take them? Maybe not. And yet he is getting unbelievable performances out of them and getting performances worthy of Champions League football. And I think it's an unbelievable achievement.
It really is. You've got to mention Callum Wilson and his return this season. I mean, he did it with him at Bournemouth, didn't he? And now he's doing it with him again at Newcastle. I mean, the signings that maybe haven't worked out was like Ryan Fraser, right? He signed Ryan Fraser, didn't he?
Ryan Fraser, did he sign him or was he there before? I can't remember.
I thought he signed him as well.
He might have signed him.
But anyway, like, look. What you're saying is spot on. He's been absolutely sensational this season, Eddie Howe. But I want to give a special mention as well to Gary O'Neill, what he's done at Bournemouth, because Scott Parker at the beginning of the season, he was coming out and saying all sorts about the squad at Bournemouth, saying it's not good enough to stay up, well, along those lines, saying it's not good enough to stay up. He came in, I think, were they rock bottom when he came in?
Yeah, I think so.
They were rock bottom, right? We were sitting here every week on Predict the Prem being like, they're sleepwalking to relegation. The form he's done there and what the job he's done there since he's come in his first job at management as well, I think it's been nothing short of sensational.
Yeah, to keep him up with the games to spare as well, and the way they've done it, it's not like they've just been boring football as well. I mean, it's not like the most exciting team, but they have a go. They try and win games. They don't just sit back and look for draws. I think they've been defensively solid and they've been quite exciting on the counter attack as well. I think the players at disposal to keep them in the Premier League has been a brilliant achievement. To be fair to Parker, I do think a lot of Bournemouth's best form did come after the January transfer window, which obviously they did sign quite a few players. So I think that just has to be mentioned. But Gary O'Neill's done a brilliant job, absolutely brilliant job to get that group of players to rally. I look at their squad now, and I think that team is as good as some of the teams right now who are looking like going down. Not at all. Their quality is nowhere near as good. So to get that level of performance is absolutely brilliant job from Gary O'Neill. So fair play to him.
And one more special mention. I want to give a special mention to Mikel Arteta for this season for completing statistically the biggest bottle job in Premier League history. So thank you very much, Mikel Arteta, for making us laugh very much towards the end of the season this year, because at one point it was looking very hairy, I'm not going to lie. But no, the biggest bottle job in Premier League history. So he's got to get a mention, surely.
Definitely. As you say, it was looking quite scary at one point, but we were thinking the only way this doesn't end up with us having to leave the country is if Arsenal commit the biggest bottle job of all time. And they happen to commit the biggest bottle job of all time. So that's very good news. And that's 2 years in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's run through our teams one more time. So I've gone for David Raya in goal, Kieran Trippier right back, Nathan Ake left back with Sven Botman and John Stones at centre-back. I've gone for Rashford on the left, Salah on the right, in the middle, Kevin De Bruyne and Odegaard, and up top, Kane and Haaland. I mean, can you imagine De Bruyne and Odegaard in the same team? Like
supplying Kane and Haaland. You never have to defend.
Like,
You need a defence.
But that's like probably the best midfield in the world that you could get. If you've got Rodri in the hole, Rodri sitting behind them, and Odegaard and De Bruyne in the middle. That'd probably be the best midfield of all time.
Oh, don't give City any ideas, honestly.
I wouldn't mind if they take Odegaard.
Then, then we really would turn into the Bundesliga. I've gone for Raya in goal, Trippier, Saliba, Stones, and Ake in the back. Saka, Rodri, Odegaard, and Rashford along the midfield with Kane and Haaland up top. So that was my team, managed by Eddie Howe.
Yeah, so mine's managed by Pep Guardiola. And the only differences in our team, they're not many. I mean, I went for Botman, you went for Saliba. I went for De Bruyne, you went for Rodri. I went for Salah, you went for Saka. And that was it, right? Just 4 differences.
Similar.
Yeah.
Very similar.
And I think that's right, because the other players that we mentioned are all probably dead certs, aren't they? Maybe apart from David Raya.
Yeah, I think so. Well, some people, some people put Diaz maybe in the back. I guess in midfield, I'm trying to think of two. Obviously Martinelli. But obviously people put a lot of people put Callum Wilson or Ivan Toney. We didn't mention Ivan Toney. What season he's had?
Look, he's had a brilliant season, but I don't think he's come close to Kane and Haaland. You know what I mean?
Luke Shaw at left back. A lot of people saying
Estepinian, I think.
Estepinian as well. Eze has had a brilliant season.
What about Elise?
Almiron,
11 assists this season for Michael Elise.
Yeah, and I think he doesn't get anywhere near enough mention as well, because he's still very young and he's such a tricky winger. He's got such a wonderful left foot as well. He's still getting better and better each year. He's got a few goals and 11 assists as well. So he's also had a brilliant season from the right-hand side. So a few honourable mentions there as well.
Is it harsh that no Brighton players have got into this team this year with the season they've had? I mean, you've got Mitoma there, you've got Pascal Gross, you've got Estepinian. McAllister.
Yeah, probably. Maybe Estepinian's a bit unlucky, maybe ahead of Nathan Ake. Mitoma has had a brilliant season. Would I put him ahead of Rashford or Martinelli? I think
he's gone a bit off the boil, Mitoma, hasn't he?
Yeah, maybe Dan Burn at left back for Newcastle, who's a bit unlucky. So there are a few people you could definitely make arguments for.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know in the comment section below what you think of our team of the year. Let us know your team of the year in the comment section below and any honourable mentions that you might have. But thank you everyone for watching today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.